It's 10 days to February 25th presidential elections, National Assembly elections, I should say. However, with the projection of high voter turnout, expected electorates must know what the key stakeholders, such as Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, party candidates, and of course, security outfits should be doing few days to the elections. Besides, the use of Bimodal voter accreditation system, Beavers, and the result upload seems to be one of the major reasons for massive interest in February 25th election. So, what are the essential features of the visas that should encourage Nigerians to come out and vote en masse? Also, what should candidates and party agents be doing at this point? How can INEC officials be insulated from corrupt influence of politicians who are desperate and willing to compromise them? And above all, should Nigeria be concerned about the engagement of private transport owners of logistics operations? So joining us now on the show is Mike Igini, former resident commissioner of Akwa Ibom State. Great to have you, resident commissioner of Akwa Ibom State, I should say. I'd like to ask you this. What's your take as regards even the president's speech? Let's start from there this morning. That said, this policy is already curbing vote buying, that would like to sanitize the electoral system. What's your take on that? Then I also want you to take on the issue of logistics. Complaints have been made in Lagos State as regards MC Oluomo, but that has been sorted out by somebody, reporting that NURTW members will take up that, not MC Oluomo, because there was a back and forth as regards that. What's your take on all those two issues?
Thank you. Good morning, Rufai, Dr. Abati, and Ese. Good morning to you all. I listened to the president this morning with keen interest and quite a number of points that I underscore very seriously. First, it is my observation that the president spoke in a very statesmanly manner, devoid of politics. It showed empathy on what situation we are going through in the country on account of the current policy and the promise that whatever we are going through today will give us a promising tomorrow. So, very interesting. Number two, I again found very interesting and commendable indeed that the president has continued his battle cry with respect to the need for credible elections. He has been consistent on this. And I recall that in October last year, toward the end of October, November, where I was also privileged to address the entire leadership of Nigerian security police at Owerri, the president was very clear that he wants to be remembered for one thing, and that is that there must be a credible election. And we are aware that that particular day had meetings in Abuja. The conference takeoff had to be delayed. And also it was to travel out of the country, as you all may recall. But the president decided that he must come there because we would have thought that maybe the Minister of Police Affairs could just come and do that. He personally came there. And the statement he made, the charges he gave to the security agents across the country were very profound. It was clear that security must be neutral, they must be firm, they must be apolitical, and they must commit to the democratic process. That is the only way that they could be seen as the friend of the Nigerian people. This is what he has repeated over and again this morning. Dr. Ruben, what I will add as a citizen who is very impressed by the statesmanly speech of the president this morning is that the president should ensure that when he gives directive, particularly of the one of this nation, that these directives are carried to the letter. This is very important because I don't know how true it is. I don't know, Dr. Abadi, Ese, and Rufai, you have seen a letter from the Finnish government with respect to the guy who was given order for stay at home in the southeast. The last paragraph In fact, the entire content of that letter from the Prime Minister is something that I so admired. The last paragraph was the defect. Having stated what he considered as the action in his own jurisdiction as an act of international terrorism, the last paragraph was the effect that he has directed that the Attorney General should ensure that the guy in question, the Nigerian who made that broadcast, should immediately recount and make another broadcast within 48 hours, and that he's looking forward that his directive will carry that. Therefore, I want to urge the president to do the following, and that is that we don't want a situation where the president gives order and the order is not carried out.
All right.
Therefore, the president should have regular, we're talking about 10 days to the election, and these following things have to be done by Mr. President. Have regular briefing from the head of security agencies of the country as the commander-in-chief of the armed forces for the following. One, all the areas that have been mapped out are areas of potential violence. What are the specific plan? They must show to you on paper the specific action plan to be taken. Number two, with respect to vote buying, which has assumed the level of epidemic, Mr. President, it is now for you good enough that in each of the polling units, you are going to have security agencies. Charge them. Let the IG and all security agents give to you the charges to those who are going to be at the polling unit. We don't need to look for that people to do that work again. Every police officer posted at the now 176,606 polling unit minus the 240 now that we are going to have this election. They must tell the president what they are going to do in respect of that area.
Okay, Mr.
Then finally, on top grade, they also have to let the president know, because all flashpoints are clearly mapped out. These are my message to Mr. President, that indeed his speech this morning was quite stately, and we are very encouraged.
Thank you, Mr. Igini. We want to try and cover a number of areas with regards to the upcoming elections, and one of such areas is, you talked about rigging, vote buying, but another concern for Nigerians is to minimize the incident, or perhaps even eradicate it if possible, of rigging, especially since they've said BVAS, which is the Bimodal voter accreditation system, is a game changer. I'd like you to share with us some of the features of Beavers that would curb rigging and, just assure Nigerians who are going out to vote that indeed their votes will count.
Thank you very much. First, the Beavers is a new game changer. And next to that is the IRF. These are the essential features of the Beavers. First, you could see that the Beavers we have shown here, every party agent, all Nigerians, I didn't show the first one that will show zero, because there are two. First and foremost, when the Beavers is opened on that day, it must show zero. There are two of them there. This one is showing registered voters. There's a one, the first one, that shows right. Okay. Now, this is the Beavers. It shows total 23 registered voters here. Now, but if you show the other one, accredited voters, this is going to show zero. It's going to first and foremost show zero. That is the starting point for both party agents, observers, Nigerian voters who are going to go to the polling unit. This is what we are going to say. But first, to be admitted to the polling unit, you need your permanent voter's card by virtue of Section 47 for verification, authentication, and confirmation of your biometric. Just in case, just one finger fails, what about your face? There is no room anymore for what you call incident form, no more proxy voting, all right? All of that have been eliminated from the process. So once that is done, and the voting process is completed. The Beavers will now be used to snap the result sheets from EC8A that each duplicate had been given to party agent. Now, let me be very clear here. This election is going to be a revolutionary election of its own class that we have not seen before. So, first, presiding officers of the Independent National Electoral Commission, they are standing as the agent of all candidates. Let that be very clear. It is because we're in an environment of distrust that there was need under Section 43 to have party agent. Whether you have party agent, you don't have party agent, clearly the presiding officers, APO 1, 2, they are statutorily the representative of Nigerian people voters. Just as you could see in America, in Georgia, in different places, where even poll officials are members of political party, they have a duty to deliver the vote of people as given. Therefore, issue about whether you have party agent, because this election is going to be the most monitored, going to be the most policed by the Nigerian people who are going to overwhelm the entire numbers of party agents you may have. Number two, this is the time for candidates to set up their situation room now. Set up your situation room. This is because at the polling unit, the system now is such that candidates, political parties, are going to get the entire collation much earlier than the INEC itself. And that is why you should set up your situation room, because the moment the duplicate has been given to your party agent, he will snap it and, of course, will send it to your situation room. The presiding officer is required to now proceed to the ward level. At that ward level, in the process of moving to ward level, which is respect to INEC, in case of political party and candidate, they will have got their result already. And that's why they are going to collect much earlier than INEC itself. Now, this is very important. For the presiding officer, the Beavers, let me inform, have been designed in such a way and manner that there is basically nothing that you can do to bypass it. If you bypass it, that is to say you didn't use it at all, it means zero. The Beavers is one that issue about overvoting cannot be talked about. The pyramid you have shown here is clearly a pyramid to repeat, to let people know that this election, its outcome, its success is going to be a reflection of our collective value as a people. Because as you can see, at the headquarters, at the state and local government, from the supervising presiding officer down to the last point here, as a pyramid, the base is broad. These are not members or staff of core staff of INEC who are responsible. These are Nigerians drawn from various agencies who are going to do that. And of course, you could see the security which we talked about on the part of Mr. President. This is to show to you that the success of this election is going to be clearly a responsibility of all Nigerians. In fact, from this pyramid you've shown, you will now record that the current register you see with respect to the total number of registered voters, 18 to 34, 35 to 49, that constitute over 70 plus million out of the 3.5 million. The implication of that is that the youth of Nigeria, the future of this country, is now clearly in your hand. Those of us who are now above 50, we are basically come to exercise our franchise on that day. Furthermore, and perhaps far important, to underscore the role of the youth, whether they will betray all that they have been saying in this country, is that at the polling unit, in the entire 176,606 polling unit, the presiding officer, the APO, who are youth corpus youth, they are about 707,000 plus that will man those areas. So this election is clearly about them to decide. That with respect to that. Now, with respect to the issue about transportation, INEC has cleared that very well. See, the union is just a union. The individual members are private vehicle owners that are engaged with specific personal, what you call contract signed with INEC. Not what INEC had with the union is an MOU. So that if any of your members fail to deliver, and here I want to make an appeal to transport workers that ordinarily on election day, nobody is going to go with vehicle. But why is it that even when on election day, on a national service, you deliberately want to hike the price of your fare when you ordinarily are supposed to be at home? However, when you would have been paid your money, as we witnessed in Akwa, Ibom, and other places, you will pay them like what happened in Anambra. When people talked about the challenges of Anambra election, that nobody thought would have been possible, nobody remember that even people were paid 100% transporter, they refused to show up on that day. My appeal to transporter, as a patriotic people, that this country, we must take this electoral process to a safe harbor. That is the message of Mr. President this morning. And I want to believe that that message is going to be taken clearly. Now, it is important for us to know how elections are manipulated, despite the fact that, yes, how election results could be manipulated. But first, as a rider, let me inform all Nigerians that INEC have developed processes and procedure that is going to be making it difficult, if not impossible, for anybody to think of rigging election. Now, I gave you this example here. But first and foremost, it should be noted that because INEC is going to do what we call live transmission of the upload to both the central server and, of course, the IREV simultaneously live, in which case, once the result at the polling unit have been uploaded live to the IREV result viewing portal, it becomes difficult for any presiding officer who is proceeding to the work collection center as it used to be before to now change the result either on the way, media race, or at the work collection center. That is no longer possible. More so, INEC has set up what you call the collection support result verification system. However, let me speak to that particular infographic that you have shown, so that the what you call agent of political party, you have to be very careful. The convicted Professor Peter Orban in Akwa Ibom, Northwest Senatorial District in 2019, a professor, someone of presumed integrity. Look at example A, Urukanal Etimepo. Do you know what he did? Nigeria Peace Party agent, political party, take note of this, because it could happen. It could happen, because we are in a country right now where those who rig election, they are the first to tell people that let us go to court. Let's go to court. This is the only country where that is happening. Now, if you look at the figures we are seeing here, this first, I decided that because we are going for election, the names of political parties should not be mentioned. Why? Political parties are mental construct. They are not human beings. It is human beings that create liability for political parties. So let's go back and I give you an example, because this is very critical by what you call the returning officer, what they could do. Now, let's go to the first figure. The first figure, let's go up. The first figure of 25, example A, right. Now, Chris Ekpenyong, who is now sitting at the Senate in this local government, he scored 25,123. Godswill Akpabio, he scored 10,534. If you look at the total value vote, it gives you 35,657. Now, if you go to now the altered or changed result, manipulated, the first thing you will observe is that you can see the similarity. You can now see that first, he has removed 5,000 from Ekpenyong votes, and Ekpenyong is now having 20,000. But you could see that 123 is still there, not changed. That is to say, if you look at the total value vote, or the original and the altered, they remain the same. So if you are carried away by looking at just the total valid votes and all of that, you are going to make mistake. That's why INEC now have what we call the collation support result verification system. That was what we used to track him. No, Dr. Abai, let me just land on this. Now, if you look at this figure, you see that 5,000 has been reduced from the first one, have now been increased to that of Akwa. You make Akwa now having 15,000 increased by 5,000 votes. Now, let's go to example B to show the same thing that happened. Now, the same thing happened here. What happened here was that at the first original vote, 6,603. Now, Gospel Akpabio scored 2,671. But what happened? They now changed the figure. By the time you change the figure in the other one, you find out that there's a repetition of 603, repetition of all 677, and the total valid vote is constant. Now, let's just go up so that we end on that. People need to take note of this. This is what they've already done in Akwa Ibom State for several years until our intervention, apart from relocating 23 polling units from their homes. Now, look at when he was arraigned in court, the whole argument about, oh, there was police. Without police report, he cannot be tried. Of course, Khalifa Weme in versus Akilu, the authority by the Supreme Court was very clear. But eventually, when he was confronted and he was convicted, when he was about to be sentenced, this is what he had to say. Nigerians should look at it. His plea of allocutus. When next I am given the responsibility, I will be extra careful. All that glitters is not gold. Everyone is a persona. The way they look is not the way they are. I'll be very careful dealing with people. This is a professor. The second professor who was so generous, who at the level of returning, take note, not at the polling unit, not at the ward level, but at the last point, what they did was to just change the figures. Of course, they've been told that, don't worry, we'll go to court. When we go to court, we'll know what to do there. We'll succeed over there. That is what people need to take note of.
Okay, we have very limited time now. I just need you to assist with some clarifications as briefly as possible. Now, you show the pyramid. Now, in that pyramid, you show the officers that will be involved in the election, and you said it's all Nigerians. And then you moved back to the 2019 elections with this. Now, with regard to university lecturers and professors, Professor Yakubu Mahmood last week held a meeting with the Committee of Vice Chancellors in Abuja. And he was saying that academics that are partisan will not be allowed to take part in the elections. The question is, how do you determine an academic who is partisan? They don't wear it like a garment all over the place. And then, of course, the same INEC chairman, that the same partisanship will not be allowed, I don't think has given a satisfactory explanation, or INEC generally, with regard to the protest by some political parties about 24 hours ago, specifically Labour Party, that persons who may even belong to these transport unions, in this case the issue is garage, and they were very specific that a person in Lagos with strong political affiliation cannot be involved in the transportation of materials. INEC has not addressed that particular case, but if they have, maybe you give us a clarification. That's one. Number two, this Beavers that is supposed to be the ultimate solution to election rigging. Now, is there a mechanism in place to check human error or deliberate attempts to corrupt the Beavers? As briefly as you can.
I don't know how brief I could be with this barrage of questions, Dr. Abati. With respect to Beavers, let me, as long as people begin to tell lies about Beavers, people like Akwa to say the truth about Beavers. We have used Beavers to conduct a total of 105 elections. And up to now, there is nothing that has gone wrong with the Beavers. And that's why I told you, if we had the time, I would have been show to you, using infographics, to show to you, what we talk about overvoting, what constitutes overvoting. Unfortunately, we don't have that time. But my message to Nigeria with respect to Beavers is that the Beavers has now been designed and has put Nigerian voter at the center of our electoral democracy. The candidates, they are now at the periphery. That is what we have done with the Beavers. With respect to the issue about the Nigerian Road Transport Workers.
No, garage. Lagos State Parks and Garage Management Committee in Lagos.
Okay, that's a different thing completely. I was speaking from the point of view of the Union of Nigerian Road Transport Workers. That is what we know. But however, in all the contracts that are given, it is individual driver that will sign. For example, Dr. Abati, if you have a transport company, SA, you have transport company and all that, you have your drivers, will sign with you, even though there could be one umbrella union. That umbrella union is only for the purpose related to them. This one is quite strange to me. But what I can say is that, look, where we are right now, Dr. Abati, it's like you are still when you see the ban of a community, where you are going to beat it? There is nothing anybody can do. Look, the system that has been put in place, I have never been as optimistic about our election than this current one, because it's going to be a tsunami. It's going to be a revolutionary election of a class we have never seen before. People are coming from all parts of the world, returning back to this country. Look, Abati, let me say this here. Nigerians are tired, and they have resolved that they will keep date with history.
Well, Mr. Igini,
for individual parliament and live in a common head. Enough.
If you can hear me, before your system times out, how do you know which professor is partisan?
Correct. First, there is no way you can know that. But the state offices, they have it. For example, when I was in Akwa Ibom, there was a professor who was always making analysis on television. When that was drawn to my attention, I withdrew him from the field. But however, they are expected to sign what they call oath of neutrality. Oath of neutrality. And so anyone who deviates, any and all who deviate from the higher principle of ethical standards, they must be brought to book. And that is why
on that note, Mr. Igini,
and that is why another one is still on trial.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Mike Igini, for joining us on The Morning Show.